Hello again, faithful Yugi tubers. This is Copy 7789 coming at you, of course, with another video for the deck analysis series. Um, we are now, I guess, going to get to what I would consider the tier 1.5 range. And that would be, obviously, as you can see, the first one I'm going to talk about is Heretics. Now, there's a couple reasons why I'm going to talk about Heretics. Heretics are a viable deck choice right now, and I think even if certain things get hit by the ban list, they're still going to be a viable deck choice because of some of the things that you can probably see that I have shown right now on um, on the deck screen here in front of you. But I'm going to talk about the current Heretics. So the current Heretics now, of course, are all about using cards like Tefnuit, cards like Sue and Esset, and then normal dragon monsters like Wattail Dragon and Luster Dragon 2, which I don't have up here, in order to Ixie into Heretic Dragon King of a Tomb. Ugh, ugh. Maybe I'll just say a tomb from now on. Should be a little bit easier. And using them to basically OTK and your opponent not being able. Obviously, it's going to be an OTK. Your opponent's going to lose. Um, so I mean, there's really not much I can say about the deck. A buddy of mine plays a deck right now, and it's a really good deck. And the fact of the matter is, it has their own rota, which obviously you can see these guys are mostly level 5 and level 6. The level 4 ones aren't all that great. Um, but you can see all these guys are either level 5 and level 6. So they're able to search out whatever they need. This one's like a Cyber Dragon, where you can just special summon it. And then, of course, they all have the effect where when they get tributed, which, I mean, this thing Sue here does, he tributes to special summon himself, and so do some of the other ones. Um, but, they get the normal monsters out, and you just basically can continue to keep going off. I think the deck is extremely good. And if they hit other decks, but not this deck, I believe next format it is going to be tier 1. And I think, like I said, it's already close to that tier already. They're and the another thing I like about them is they're relatively cheap to make. Now, aside from the extra deck cards, which might get a little pricey, um, they're still really good. Now, let's say they do something like hit Darkness Metal Dragon, which is why I have it up here. But they don't hit anything else in the Heretic deck. You have another aspect that I'm actually planning on testing out myself, and probably going to end up building the deck if I really like it. And you have the option to add something like this Gishki monster in Evagishki Gustkraken. Now, when you activate the ritual spell, in order to ritual summon monsters, it tributes. So you get their tribute effects, and you can special summon out the normal monsters, and it's just really good. And then with this, like, there's actually a way for you to be able to get 3 cards out of your opponent's hand. And the thing I like about Gustkraken is they don't go to the graveyard. They go back to the deck. You look at 2 random cards in your opponent's hand, and you shuffle it back, one of them back into the deck. One of them of your choosing, of course. Um, so yeah, I think Heretics are a really good deck type. I think they have a lot of potential, especially with being able to use cards like Gustkraken. And then I want to mention that I don't have the Ixie up here, but there's another Ixie named. It's out of the. I don't know if I mean if you've ever been on Dueling Network, you might have seen the Constellar monsters. I guess is what they're called now, or in other words, the Sacred monsters in Japanese. But there's a rank 6 for them where it just allows you to continue to reuse the Gustkraken to take possibly your opponent's entire hand and put it back into their deck. Now that's game breaking. And I think it's a better loop than windup because you don't send the cards to the graveyard. So you're not, like, against a deck like Inzectors, you're not sending their Hornets to the graveyard. You're sending it back to the deck. So they got to hope to draw into it if you're only getting like 1 or 2 cards out of their hand in order to do anything. Um, Now, obviously, this deck, as well as Inzectors, whether it's the Gishki version or just the regular Heretic version, are hit very heavily by Effect Veiler. But then there's, any deck does that. And most of the time, your opponent's going to Veiler the Attune. Um, and that's okay. Um, because of Gaia Dragon. Obviously he's not able to attack when he activates his effect, but it's really easy just to overlay for Gaia Dragon. And then the fact that Gaia Dragon it has trample as well, I think makes it really, really good because even if they Veiler and let's say they have a Reaper set, you overlay into this guy and he has trample, they're still going to be taking a lot of damage. And the ability to go into strike bouncer, I think, is game breaking for the deck as well. Just being able to negate your opponent's effect is really, really big, especially against decks like Inzectors and all that stuff. The main thing, other than Veiler, that this deck is extremely weak to is Dark Hole. Now, that's not to say that any deck isn't weak to Dark Hole, but because of the field presence that you put out, if you if you put out the huge field presence and you're not able to win the game that turn, you're probably going to lose if they have Dark Hole. Mainly because you lose so much advantage when they Dark Hole you that it's going to be extremely difficult to come back. Now, with the release of Gustav Max and Darkness Metal Dragon, if it stays at 2 or more, you have the ability to go into Gustav Max and not really have to worry about a Dark Hole because most of the time you're still going to OTK anyway. However, in certain situations, obviously Dark Hole is a game-breaking card against a deck like this. Um, so yeah, guys, that's really all I have about the Heretic deck type. I really like the Heretic deck, mainly because I'm a huge fan of dragons to begin with, but also because of the way it plays. I've always been more of an aggressive player, so decks that can OTK really easily just pique my interest, and then something that can, that can be put together with cards like the Gishki cards is I think is really cool in my opinion. Um, so yeah, guys, that's really about all I have on the Heretic deck types. Of course, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and then make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow's deck discussion. I haven't decided what it's going to be on yet. Um, it'll most likely be on either Gravekeepers or Six Samurai, one or the other, because they're both. I would consider both of them tier 1.5 as well. So yeah, that's really all I have, guys. As always, like I said again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, stay tuned for the video tomorrow. All right, peace out, YouTube.